which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Live from Radio Cayman Studio.
This is For the Record with Orrett.
Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
With Orrett.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is For the Record.
For the Record. 1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Wednesday, the 30th day of October 2024, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable evening. Those of you who are on our roads, we urge you to please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may just be your own. We're made to understand that in the vicinity of Countryside in Savannah, there has been a vehicular accident there that will probably slow traffic down a bit. So again, we urge you to please be patient on our roads, be courteous as well while you observe the rules of the road. Those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, or if you celebrated one over the past few days, we want to wish you a happy birthday or a belated happy birthday, and to remind you that the For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Coca-Cola, who are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. So let's see who's celebrating a birthday today. Mr. Jeremy Scott, the Director of Work. He is celebrating his birthday today, so happy birthday to Mr. Jeremy Scott. Also, Junior Dilberth celebrating birthday today. Jackie Ellison also celebrating a birthday today. I think those are all that we have. And tomorrow, Miss Brenda Connolly will be celebrating her birthday as well. So again, folks, For the Record, birthday shout-outs proudly brought to you by Coca-Cola. They are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And to remind you that later on this morning, not too far from now, we will have the Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, in the studio with us. She will be talking about her recent attendance at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting 2024 that took place in Samoa. Also in the studio will be in the studio with her chief officer, Mr. Eric Bush, as well, who has quite a bit of experience on the international scene, also having served as the head of the Cayman Islands London office as well. So very quickly, Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings, and I'll take this from Wikipedia of sorts, says that Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, known by the acronym CHOGM, it's a biennial summit meeting of the governmental leaders from all Commonwealth nations. Despite the name, the head of state may be present in the meeting instead of the head of government, especially amongst semi-presidential states. Every 2 years, the meeting is held in a different member state and is chaired by that nation's respective prime minister or president, who becomes the Commonwealth chair in office until the next meeting. So that's a brief outline of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, but we will hear more, get more details from the Honorable Juliana O'Connor, Connolly Premier of the Cayman Islands, when she's on the show. We're going to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
The Wesleyan Ministry Society saw its peak during the 9-month stretch of Reverend John Mearns' tenure in 1842. Mearns, a dedicated man, preached and administered communion in 5 places across the island, frequently traveling 50 miles per week on horseback. This also saw the district of West Bay become home to the first Wesleyan chapel and a second chapel being constructed in Prospect. Congregations as large as 140 members were also reported in central Georgetown. The legislature was very accommodating to Reverend Mearns, permitting him to reside in the parsonage, which had been built for the Anglicans, and to use the courthouse for service. However, when it came to payment, the legislature later voted down a motion to provide Reverend Mearns with a £5 per quarter subsidy. The motion was defeated 9 votes to 8.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
The Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets are here. Get your tickets now and win that $40,000 grand prize, $4,000 second prize, and 6 $1,000 prizes. Tickets are only $25. Get your tickets now from any Rotary Central member, Rotary Central ticket seller, eventpro.ky, and 916-7310. Rotarian Annie Rose Scott, the Sister Islands. You may be that lucky winner. Rotary Central, supporting more than 28 projects important to our community. The 29th Annual Rotary Central Music Extravaganza, Saturday, November 30th. Salty's Harbor Grill, Red Bay, the magic of Rotary, through Rotary Central.
Brand Source is putting the sizzle into the season with their fall cooking sale. Fall into savings with 15% off on all cooking products, including gas and electric ranges, cooktops, microwave ovens, built-in wall ovens, and speed ovens. Luxury brands included. Don't miss out. Shop now and save 15% on cooking products before this offer ends on October 31st. Cook up your best dishes with Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well. and discover a world of choice.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I want to sort of like set the stage for the discussion that will take place with the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands, along with her Chief Officer, Mr. Eric Bush, about the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. And going back to Wikipedia, I can get information from the Commonwealth Secretariat's website as well. But you would have heard me on Monday talk about the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting and the fact that the United Kingdom sits at the head table as far as the overseas territories are concerned, and they are then either surrounded or sitting in the back of the head table would be the overseas territory. We have seen former prime ministers or ministers of, foreign affairs ministers who have given more leverage and allowed more flexibility in terms of the involvement of the overseas territories as well. So it'll be interesting to hear how the overseas territories were treated and the amount of leeway that was given to them as well. We know that what was huge in the international press was the whole issue of reparations for slavery, and there were statements made that it wouldn't be discussed there. I think all of those countries that have been affected by the adverse effects of slavery, they put their feet down and they insisted. So compromises were made at the end of the day. And at an appropriate time, I'll talk about that as well. But don't expect that to be discussed during the Premier's discussion here. I'm not sure that will be discussed. Meanwhile, as I pointed out before, that it is a biennial event where the heads of government or the heads of state may be present. Every 2 years, the meeting is held in a different member state and is chaired by that nation's respective prime minister or president, who becomes the Commonwealth chair in office until the next meeting. It is noted that the late Queen Elizabeth II, who was the head of the Commonwealth, attended every Commonwealth head of government meeting, beginning with the first one that was held in Ottawa in 1973, and she attended until the meeting in Perth in 2011. And it goes on to point out that although her formal participation only began in 1997, she was represented by the Prince of Wales at the 2013 meeting, as the 87-year-old monarch was curtailing long-distance travel. She attended the 2015 summit in Malta and the 2018 summit, which was delayed by 1 year in London, but was represented again by the Prince of Wales at the 2022 meeting, which was also delayed by 2 years, and that was held in Rwanda. And we know why the 2022 meeting would have been delayed, and that would have been because of the COVID pandemic. Wikipedia tells us that the first Commonwealth Head of Government meeting was held in 1971 in Singapore. and there have been 27 held in total. The most recent was held in April. The most recent, was held in Apia, Samoa. That's the one that the Honorable Premier will be talking about. They are held once every 2 years, although this pattern has occasionally been interrupted. They are held around the Commonwealth, rotating by invitation amongst its members. In the past, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting have attempted to orchestrate common policies on certain contentious issues and current events, with a special focus on issues affecting member nations. Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings have discussed the continuation of apartheid rule in South Africa and how to end it, military coups in Pakistan and Fiji, and allegations of electoral fraud in Zimbabwe. Sometimes the member states agree on a common idea or solution and release a joint statement declaring their opinion. More recently, beginning in 1997, Commonwealth Heads of Government the meeting has had an official theme set by the host nation on which the primary discussions have been focused as well. And again, we will hear more from the Honorable Premier about that as well. What else can I share with you? So the Commonwealth Heads of Government meetings originated with the leaders of the self-governing colonies of the British Empire. The first colonial conference in 1887 was followed by periodic meetings. I should mention that 1887 conference as well, and that was just after what was called the carving up of Africa, where all of the colonial powers decided to carve up Africa for their own benefit and deciding who would control where, who would control what. Many historians, many political scientists feel that that carving up of Africa has contributed greatly to the divisions that exist in Africa, the splitting up of tribes, one tribe in one country, split up in two or more countries as well. Again, all the results of slavery. But that period prior to 1886 was known as the carving up of Africa. So that was followed by people meeting, and it was known as the Imperial Conference from 1907 of government leaders of the empire, the development of the independence of the dominions and the creation of a number of new dominions, as well as the invitation of Southern Rhodesia, which is now Zimbabwe, but we know Southern Rhodesia was ruled by a man by the name of Ian Smith, another country very similar to South Africa as far as their policies were concerned. Changed the nature of the meeting as the Dominion leaders asserted themselves more and more at the meetings. It became clear that the time for Imperial Conference was over. Folks, with that, we've reached the top of the hour, or 8 o'clock news. When we return, our discussion with the Honorable Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, will begin immediately after the 8 o'clock news. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Usi. And studio time by Foster's is 7:59.
West Bay, are you ready? The new Foster's Republics has something special for your mornings.
Our brand new breakfast station cooks up the best meals to start your day. And our convenient coffee bar is perfect for grabbing a fresh cup.
Plus, our new deli bakery and made-to-order food stations are better than ever. Whether you're in the mood for a breakfast burrito or a bakery treat, we've got you covered.
We're open from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Saturday, so swing by and fuel up for the day.
Discover the improved Foster's Republics in West Bay, making your mornings easier, tastier, and better because we care.
The voice of the Cayman Islands.
89.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. 911 confirms to Radio Cayman a report of a single vehicle accident by Countryside Village off Shamrock Road, which came in around 6:37 this morning. Eyewitnesses reported that the car involved had overturned. Injuries were reported and emergency services were sent to the scene. You can expect delays if you're coming from the eastern districts this morning. Potential bids for government's requested $150 million loan facility are set to be considered. Updating MPs in Finance Committee earlier this month, Financial Secretary Kenneth Jefferson reminded them that the 2024-25 budget approved back in December 2023 actually included provisions for this loan.
And the profiling of that $150 million was $27 million in 2024 and $123 million in 2025 for a total of $150.
The loan request for proposals was issued in September, and Mr. Jefferson stressed that there were no borrowings by government between January 1st and October 11th, which was when he spoke to the matter in Parliament.
It is possible that the government could go through the entire 2024 current year without borrowing. I think it really will come down to what the level of capital expenditures actually turn out to be. So the original budget was for capital, $172 million. To the end of August, it was $76 million. So roughly $9 million a month. The capital spend in the month of September was $11 million. The $125 million projection that we have, we feel fairly confident about.
In which case, a total $150 million would be earmarked for 2025.
I don't believe, Madam Chair, that the government is going to be able to get through 2025 without borrowing. I don't think that's going to be the case because the original profiling was for that year to attract borrowing of $123 million. And I think that is going to be hard to avoid.
The bid closed on October 28th after an extension. Therefore, Mr. Jefferson said government is looking, quote, easily at November before any execution of the possible loan agreement is put in place. Now, in RFP documents, the breakdown of the proposed usage of this money was for investments in public safety, remediation at the landfill, road infrastructure upgrades, the development of a new Layman E. Scott Senior High School in Cayman Brac, and investment in a, quote, new public transportation service. The money is potentially earmarked as well for, quote, planned equity investments in several statutory authorities and government companies. And speaking of government projects, after getting planning approval back in November 2023, government has pitched a tender to build new public bathrooms at Governor's Beach. The Ministry of District Administration and Land says this will, quote, meet community needs by providing public amenities that promote public health while maintaining the natural beauty of the area, quote, enhancing the overall appeal and experience for both residents and visitors alike. Project deliverables include the construction of a 545-square-foot restroom facility connected to the public sewage system, the installation of about 250 feet of concrete sidewalk at the entrance along West Bay Road, along with a landscape buffer next to the Pinnacle apartment complex. The project also calls for a mobility mat for beach access. During the planning process, the National Conservation Council directed the CPA to include conditions that will protect turtles during construction, as there is a marine reserve offshore the application site, and it is adjacent to a beach that has been designated as critical turtle nesting habitat. The deadline for companies to submit a bid is November 18th. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Karsley Fuller.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. The Spanish Prime Minister has promised to use all means available to help victims of flash flooding near Valencia, which has killed more than 60 people. Pedro Sánchez said those who'd suffered would not be abandoned. Dozens remain unaccounted for. With less than a week until the US election, President Biden is facing criticism after appearing to call Donald Trump's supporters garbage. Mr. Biden insists he was referring to one comedian's disparaging comments about Puerto Rico. The head of the World Food Programme says without a ceasefire, Sudan could become the world's worst humanitarian crisis. Cindy McCain said millions could starve. The prosecutor's office in Georgia has summoned the pro-Western President Salome Zorabishvili, who says Saturday's parliamentary election was rigged. The president has alleged Russian interference. That's the latest. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Avoid contact with standing water and floodwaters during and after a storm to prevent exposing yourself to serious health risks, including infectious diseases, chemical hazards, and injuries. As an added precaution, your emergency kit should also include personal safety equipment, such as rubber boots and gloves. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Ladies, it's a Queen Party at Kingpin Bowling every Wednesday with happy hour bowling specials for all of our Cayman queens. Yes, you! 5 until 7 p.m. every Wednesday. Only $7 to bowl with drink specials. Bowling shoes included. Mix it up, walk in, and take a spin for your next girls' night. For more information, call 946-BOWL. That's 946-2695. Or email kingpinbowling@candw.ky.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Britcade, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 93%. The barometric pressure is 29.96 inches and rising. The wind is southeast at 12 knots. Overnight low temperature was 78 degrees. Synopsis indicate cloudiness with some locally heavy showers across the Cayman area are likely to persist through mid-morning, with a gradual decrease expected from this afternoon as an area of high pressure builds across the southeastern United States. Fresh winds and rough seas will continue across the Cayman area for the next few days associated with the high pressure system. Radar images show numerous to widespread showers south of Grand Cayman, with widely scattered showers elsewhere in and around the Cayman area, drifting towards the west. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida has indicated an area across the central Caribbean Sea which has a 40% chance of cyclonic development over the next 7 days. The Cayman Islands National Weather Service will continue to monitor the development of this system. Now, the forecast for the Cayman Islands for today, calling for cloudy with 60% chance of showers and some thunder this morning, becoming partly cloudy with cloudy spells and a 40% chance of showers from this afternoon. Showers will be locally heavy at times, and temperatures today will be in the upper 80s. Winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet. Small craft should continue to exercise caution over the open seas for today and tonight as well. Forecast for tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, and temperatures will dip to the upper 70s tonight. Your winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots with higher gusts, and seas will be rough with wave heights of 5 to 7 feet. Today's high tide will be this morning at 8:38, low tide this afternoon at 2:36, and a high tide again tonight at 7:53. The sun will set this evening at 5:51 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:26. And the outlook is calling for a decrease in showers and cloudiness through tomorrow, with mostly settled conditions expected thereafter. Fresh winds are expected to continue over the next few days, resulting rough marine conditions. A small craft advisory is expected to remain in effect for at least the next 3 days.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. Don't lie on your resume. Because if you say you've got trapeze experience, someone might shoot you out of a cannon and expect you to do a gymnast routine while flying through the air at 82 miles an hour. And just because you want to land on your feet doesn't mean you will. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance, so you get the best coverage for the price.
Get the best coverage for the price. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather update brought to you by
CG Brit-K, where people come first.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman is proud to continue to serve our island community. During the last Lionistic year, they successfully carried out community projects like the Prostate and Colon Cancer Awareness Campaign, site screenings, spelling bees, swim meets, and their community food pantry. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman looks forward to continuing their service during the 2024-2025 Lionistic year and for many more years to come. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman, where there's a need, there's a lion, serving the community for over 50 years.
The results of the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey are in, Cayman. Did you know that 35% of Cayman residents with raised blood pressure are undiagnosed? Or that 7 out of 10 Cayman residents are overweight or obese? The Ministry of Health and Wellness wants to empower you with information that can change your life. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps or follow us on Facebook. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning again. Let's take a look what's happening on the roads. Heavy traffic coming from the east. There was an accident earlier that occurred at the Countryside Shopping Center. That might be adding to some of the delays if you're coming from the east. Shamrock Road and Rex Creighton Boulevard, heavy traffic. Also heavy traffic on the Linford Pearson Highway. As we look to Crew Road, heading to Georgetown, traffic is slow moving. Heading east on Crew Road, traffic is moving along moderately. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, traffic steady but flowing, as well as on Huldah Avenue. Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue flowing moderately in both directions, also coming from the West Bay 4-way stop. And steady traffic coming off of the Esther Tibbetts Highway and continuing on to North Sound Road. Expect some delays. Roads are wet, so please drive with extra caution. Join us again at about 10 minutes past 12. We'll give you another look at traffic.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just the delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
West Bay, are you ready? The new Foster's Republics has something special for your mornings.
Our brand new breakfast station cooks up the best meals to start your day. And our convenient coffee bar is perfect for grabbing a fresh cup.
Plus, our new deli bakery and made-to-order food stations are better than ever. Whether you're in the mood for a breakfast burrito or a bakery treat, we've got you covered.
We're open from 6:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday to Saturday. So swing by and fuel up for the day.
Discover the improved Foster's Republics in West Bay, making your mornings easier, tastier, and better because we care.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. As promised, it is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Mr. Eric Bush, who is the Chief Officer in the Premier's Ministry. Mr. Bush is also former head of the London office, and in any other country that would be considered a consulate or an embassy if we weren't an overseas territory. And of course in the studio with us, the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands, just returned from the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting over in Samoa. Good morning. Good morning, folks. Welcome to For the Record. And I think I got Mr. Eric Bush's Chief Officer status wrong, but we'll correct that later on as well. Good morning, folks.
Good morning, O.C. Good to be back.
Okay. Premier, I know, as usual, you like to start, with a prayer, and I'm made to understand that the place where you just came from, that they do the same as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you once again for the opportunity. Shall we pray? Almighty God, we just want to pause this wonderful morning to thank you for this yet another awesome opportunity and responsibility, Lord, to be here in OC's show, to be able to speak to the nation and to share of our journeys beyond. Lord, we thank you for this country, Lord. We thank you for the protection that you've given, not just in traveling, but from the hurricane season. And even though as we're enjoying the wonderful rain this morning, we pray that you continue to put your covering of protection around us throughout the next month or so to the termination of the hurricane season. Lord, we pray that you would just continue to utilize Radio Cayman to be able to convey the truth throughout this jurisdiction, Lord, and empower and educate our nation, Lord, as to the things that are happening, the aspirational things of historical nature, Lord, because if we forget our history, we are doomed, as it were, for a future. We pray that your Shekinah glory would now just permeate the very innermost being of this edifice as we continue to do your work. We ask these mercies in the wonderful name of Jesus Christ, our soon coming King, with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen. Okay. Thank you very much, Premier, for that as well. Before, in my opening segment, I sort of primed our audience for what the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting are all about, gave them a little bit history, a little bit of the history of it as well. So first thing that we would want to know, Premier, is the main purpose of the 2024 Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, and why was it so important that the Cayman Islands be represented there?
Thanks, O.C. As you would fully appreciate, it gave an opportunity to network among some 57 Commonwealth countries, and it was just anybody, but it was the leaders of their countries. So you had only one premier, because it's not normally open to dependent territories. And so it was semi-historic. I understand Sir Alden had an opportunity to do so a couple of years ago, but it had then become lax, and they had been a lobbying with the UCOTS for United Kingdom to make their territories a part of their delegation. For whatever reason, that did not happen. And so this time when I visited the UK early in the year, Lord Marlon extended an invitation to me as the Premier from Cayman and to Eric for us to come to the financial aspect of it. And he ensured that we had some speaking opportunities. So when I responded in the affirmative after much due consideration and much advice that I had to consider up to the very 11th hour, whether it was in the best interest of Cayman to go, it was later on in September that I got a direct invitation from the Stephen, the head of the Foreign Office. And so I was invited then in my capacity as president of UCOT, and I thought certainly I needed to go despite, other advice that I had been given. And so I'm glad that I went. It was a long journey, and I know that when you travel nowadays, you open up yourself for criticism. But if I had to do it again, I would do it again, because not only did it position you in an environment of very high-level academic and intellectual persons, but persons of many years of experience and persons who are going through much of the same things that we're going through in Cayman. It was refreshing, and politics became alive and well again. That, I was reminded why we're doing this for our country. And the Commonwealth is such a huge diaspora of experience, of cultural exchange, and as I said in one of my speeches that I did there, that, our geographers have made us amicable friends, and our economies have made some of us allies, but most of all, the cultural diversification have been a stark reminder that we're all humans, and this landscape called the universe to make it a much better place. And I came back full of charge with tons of ideas of how we can enhance. And the wonderful thing about it as well is that we had an opportunity through Eric, and I want to go on record, as I earlier indicated to you, it was an honor and a refreshing privilege for me to travel with Eric. Eric was able to open so many doors, and as we went, we had our access guards for security reasons. Of course, King Charles was there with his wife, the Queen Camilla, and other very high-level heads from all around the world. They, for some reason, not a lot of the Caribbean heads came, and I'm not sure whether that was by choice or whether it was their economic or political realities. But normally, I know from previous years, although I didn't attend, I kept up to date, that it was a big thing going to CHOGM. You would hear it talked about it at CPA, which is happening imminently now in Australia. And we have a delegation from Cayman that's going. But one thing I really appreciated is that although I was not a representative from an independent country, not only did the UK with Welcome Arms welcome me, but the other leaders made no distinction. They were very receptive, and even the indigenous population, Eric can attest, they were coming up and wanted to take pictures of me and wanted to talk about Cayman. And it was really refreshing to know that once we allow ourselves to go and share, Cayman is so blessed. When you hear the stories and the revelations, what obtains in other first world countries, Cayman, despite what we hear in the division and the naysayers, Cayman is one blessed nation.
Okay, Mr. Bush, can we talk a little bit more about the significance of being, at a place where you have so many Commonwealth nations represented? We know in your role as the head of the Cayman Islands office in the United Kingdom that you also interacted with, how many parliamentarians are there in Parliament? Is 600?
And then quite a few in the House of Lords.
Yes. So
800.
So that environment for you, you're quite comfortable in, and I have seen you, operate, in the London office and, open doors that some people believe, were not able to be opened. So Let's talk about that.
Well, thank you, Mr. Connor, and good morning. Good morning to Cayman Islands. It was indeed a pleasure to accompany the Premier to the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Samoa. Alongside that, we also attended the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council Business Forum, which is the forum that I was invited to speak at, and it was around infrastructure. So it fit firmly within my ministerial remit. And just want to clarify, I am still the Chief Officer of Planning, Agriculture, Housing, etc.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
With Minister J.E. Banks, and I thank him for his support in allowing me to go as well to speak on his behalf. But yeah, I mean, you know, the importance of Cayman attending the CHOGM, and as you said, it's meant to happen every 2 years. In the next 2 years, it's happening a lot closer to home in Antigua and Barbuda, and we met with the Prime Minister of that country, and he was very excited that his colleagues, his fellow leaders in the Commonwealth are entrusting him and his country to host the next CHOGM in 2026. So this as much as this was Cayman re-establishing itself within the Commonwealth, as the Premier said, we started to do so in 2018. Obviously, we had COVID in 2020. We missed the opportunity in Rwanda. We took this one up, and we start seeing the benefits instantly, not just the rekindling of relationships, but also recognizing that whilst we are a collection of three beautiful islands, we are a collection of three beautiful islands amongst the world. And the issues at large part that we are experiencing at home are being experienced elsewhere. And there are opportunities and solutions that and pockets of excellence to be found all over the world. And when we come together in a global forum like this with 56 countries represented at the highest level, talking about trade, food security, health, education, women's affairs, children's affairs, elderly, etc., that makes you recognize that you're doing okay in some areas, and also gives you opportunity to see how others are doing, and then say, okay, well, hold on, I'm not doing that bad, first off. And okay, well, there's opportunity to talk to you about and learn from the lessons and experiences that you've had. So I can't emphasize how important it is for Cayman to absolutely be focused on itself, but remember that we're a part of a big world, and the world, for the most part, is very welcoming to us.
Okay, our folks out there are listening and viewing audience. We also know that the Premier made a strong impact, had a strong impact during the plenary session too, and her message on reducing barriers to trade was really enthusiastically received by the group there as well. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we're going to have the Premier talk about her speaking on reducing barriers to trade, despite the fact that, you know, we're more of a receiving nation rather than exporting, but lots of things to learn as well. Folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. The discussion with Mr. Eric Bush and Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands, will continue after this short commercial break.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show, the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Brought to you by these kind sponsors.
The Cayman Islands Football Association, CIFA, building a better future for Cayman football.
Cayman Insurance Center.
Don't take chances with your family's future or your valuable assets. Call me today, Michael Webster, at 925-5433.
UWI Open Campus, on-site, online, and on demand.
Visit open.uwi.edu. Call them today at 946-8322.
Super Jam.
Also brought to you by
Cayman Airways. Call them at 949-2311 to book your non-stop flights to Los Angeles and Panama.
Superior Auto Center. Do it right the first time with Superior Auto.
949-9570
or 525-9571.
Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune.
And Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga wholesalers. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
The results of the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey are in Cayman. Did you know that 35% of Cayman residents with raised blood pressure are undiagnosed? Or that 7 out of 10 Cayman residents are overweight or obese? The Ministry of Health and Wellness wants to empower you with information that can change your life. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps or follow us on Facebook. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Chief Officer Mr. Eric Bush and the Premier of the Cayman Islands, the Honorable Juliana O'Connor. Connolly, we're talking about the Premier's attendance at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that took place in Samoa. And before we took the commercial break, we mentioned the fact that there was a plenary session 2, on reducing barriers to trade, in which the Premier participated. So, Premier, we want to hear about your message at that plenary session and the reception that it received amongst the Commonwealth leaders as well.
Thank you. I'll let Eric talk about the reception since I was the speaker. That'd be kind of self-serving.
That's easy. It was very good.
But with pleasure, I'll try to summarize what I thought were the barriers. And as you rightly indicated, also, we don't necessarily trade. I mean, there was a time when we did coconuts and thatch and turtles that you can hardly even get these days. But we're more of a service industry with financial services, tourism that we've tried to diversify. So it was an out of the comfort zone topic, but nonetheless, I tried my best. And I think from the standing ovation, it was probably pretty good in its reception. One of the barriers I thought that would hinder trade would be that of finance and the economy. There's not a standardization from a global perspective as to how Commonwealth countries can access finance. And for us, a small island state, it became even more difficult with Brexit, because before we had not easy access, but we had practical access, like, say, to the OECD and to European countries, and that has gone away. And in fact, that is one of the items that came out of the meeting that I had Monday with the overseas territories and the Caribbean leaders, that we will put on the agenda when we go to JMC to talk about access and finance in post-Brexit. So I'm hoping that when I conclude that meeting, I'll have a happy story to bring back to Cayman about that. I also indicated that because for some of the countries, for us in Cayman with the FFR, that in itself with the 10% debt ratio, the only 5% of the revenue for supplementary, it put certain economic handcuffs on, and that I felt that they weren't renewed periodically as they should. I think that they were very good at the time and we had the economic meltdown, but I think now is the time that we can look at it. Doesn't mean that you look at it with a view of changing it, but certainly it keeps you current. And that is a special occasion for countries who were hit like with hurricanes, and I try to tie it into the global realities now of climate change and how that access to financing and that barrier needs to be removed. Then also there's a geographical or the distance barrier. For example, Samoa is like more than halfway across the world, and so they don't necessarily have all of the aviation or shipping networks that may be necessary. But by having a Commonwealth there, it took the lens of the world and shown it in Samoa. And so that was a conduit that I think that the Commonwealth can be used for, not just then, but in the future, to find those jurisdictions that don't necessarily have that financing, but bring the Commonwealth. And I think it was the one of the presidents from Rwanda, I believe, that said, if we broke down the word Commonwealth, we should make wealth common. And that simplifies it, but that isn't always the modus operandi, and I think we need to strive towards that aspiration. I also talk about another barrier being the lack of trust and lack of unity, and that we ought to move towards being a strong coalition as opposed to competitive, because out of that competitive nature, we see a lot of protective regulations and laws and directives, which often leaves another barrier of tariffs. And for the politician, there's a lot of pressure to put tariffs in place because they try to protect the domestic market because all politics are local. But at the end of the day, no man or no country is an island, so we have to balance it to where we protect the local economy, but we also have to realize that as small island states, we depend heavily on inward investment. I think where the breakdown has come, OC, I almost call you Mr. Moderator, is that we have not quite succeeded in balancing that. And not just Cayman, but all of the small island nations where, because we depend so heavily on the inward investment, we almost forget directly or indirectly who is the ultimate beneficiaries thereof. And I think that is where Cayman certainly has a lacuna. We have done very well with inward investment. People that come here don't seem to want to leave, and that's perhaps good in some areas, but we want to make sure that the people that came and found here don't find themselves wanting to leave. Yes. And that is a challenge that I think not just this government, past government, but future governments would have. And so immigration in itself and migration, illegal migration, can be another barrier that needs to be broken down. And then I also talked about the language barrier for the Commonwealth, because the British Empire went everywhere that the sun never set, for the want of a better adjective and description. There's a common language of English, and I don't think it has been fully utilized by the Commonwealth. And if they begin trading like the United States, at least up until recently when they were the United States, we'll see what next Tuesday brings, there was a commonality, that there was free movement, there was free access to finance, and that the bigger countries traded not with Russia or China as their priority, and profit wasn't everything, but they tried to develop. Because if we don't develop these small island states, then it's a death spot for terrorism, for crime, for drugs, for all sorts of dark and shady. Trade will go into black markets, will become more conspicuous. And then there are also the cultural barriers. We have some of the islands that the cultural barriers transforms into a gender balance where it's male dominated, and we feel that the females shouldn't have anything. Thank God for Cayman, that glass ceiling has been broken and shattered several times. And that was one of the commonalities we found with Samoa as we met with the Prime Minister there. She's the first woman that's there. And by all accounts, not just from her own testimony, but her respective ministers and those that you saw, there was such an awe of respect. And I think the final barrier that is the lack of respect. We somehow, through the passage of time, lost that respect for the Commonwealth. Cayman became prosperous, other nations likewise, and so we felt that we could make it on our own. But I believe that because of the globalization that we're all experiencing, we have to do, as CHOGM said, one resilient common future. So we need to find a commonality. We need to set our eyes on a future, but we have to be resilient, not just with the environment, but resilient in our purpose and our preservation of our culture and the preservation of our identity, and bridge that dignity gap.
Okay. There was a mention also of the
audacity.
Yes, the audacity of optimism. And we know that in the past you've also spoken about the audacity of hope coming from, Barack Obama as well. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of use that as the thread to bring together or consummate the various thoughts and the barriers that, yes, these are barriers, but we have to have that audacity, we have to have that courage, we have to have that boldness, we have to have that temerity to be hopeful, because without hope, Paul the Apostle said, we'll be like all men, most miserable. And I thought that once we recognize what the problem was, which is usually the very first step, but once that we fail miserably most time, and it ends with a travesty because of our lack of action, I find that we as island nations, and perhaps all nations, the temptation to become paralyzed by fear seems to be the order of the day. And if we can move out of that realm and dream big and be optimistic that, yes, it may not have happened in the past, but there are new leaders, there are new objectives, there are new inputs and outputs. I believe that if we can outstretch our hands and our hearts and have that united front, that as the Jamaicans say, and I like to quote, out of many, we are one people. I mean, we may have different skin tones, we may have different last names, different backgrounds, but our basic needs are the same. Our desires to improve for our children, our family, our country, our nation are there, no matter what language we speak. And for us, because we have that common language, we have to build our middle class. And I think for us in the Cayman context, there's a merchant class that always seem to make it no matter how the economy is. It's the poor that the Bible says will always be with you, keeps getting poorer. But as a nation, especially where we have inward investment, we have to create that environment. We have to create the immigration policies. We have to remove enough barriers so that our middle class will not be strangled by bureaucracy, will not be strangled by policies that were meant to protect those who were writing the law when we were down in that 1% that everybody forgotten, and finally it became 50%, and now it's becoming a majority. We're the minority in a country that's ours. I believe that if we're going to step out of that, not only are these barriers need to go locally, but internationally, we need to take our people to the foreign stage, and we need to get out, or see if I may say this, the crab mentality that we shouldn't spend money to go overseas. I don't think we should waste money. And those in the classes that know me, I don't waste money. But if I see a need, I will spend money. And so I think we need to spend time to invest into that middle class. And that's what I took back when I said I came energized. I always knew that we needed to do it. Sometimes we never had the money to do it. Sometimes we never had the political will to do it. But certainly we are at a juncture. If we don't build wealth for our middle class in the country, there will not be Commonwealth. It will be commoners. And I don't think we should allow that to happen. So whatever barriers need to be eradicated, bulldozed, as Ard would say, it needs to be done just for the longevity and the resilience element that we're so desirous in this time.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Premier. Mr. Bush, there was a Island Nations Roundtable discussion that took place, as well. We'd like to hear more about that, share that with our audience.
Yes, sir. And good morning again. So the Premier participated in an Island Nations Roundtable, which consisted of island leaders, both prime ministers from the Caribbean that attended, from the Bahamas and Antigua and Barbuda were both on there. Other members from other leaders from other Commonwealth countries, and then leaders in the private sector. And what this was, again, was a roundtable discussion of at the various highest level, talking about how the Commonwealth can work better together. Understanding that the world, whilst made up of over 200 countries, they're made up of alliances, of links. We have the European Union, we had we have NATO, we see the formation of BRICS, we have the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth of, representing over 2.5 million people, 60% is under 30 in that population. So this is the forum whereby we talk about how weak or how strong can the Commonwealth be, how optimistic can we be in that, and understanding that if we're putting the theme of one resilient common future, okay, well, where are you? Where am I? How can we work together? How can we reduce the barriers for trade, for bureaucracy, for immigration, for whatever it is, to truly create, if that is our goal of creating one resilient common future, that was one of the many forums that the Premier was involved in that talked about that, and she was able to talk about Cayman's reality, and as an observer, just seeing how the message was received. First off, every time she spoke, there was a round of applause, which wasn't normal. So I really want to say thank you and congratulations to the Premier for that, if I may, if I can be as audacious and say that. But it was revealing in two ways for me how well Cayman is doing, but also the opportunities we have not only to learn from others, but also to share our experiences with them.
Mm-hmm. Premier, you also discussed public-private partnerships as a strategy for sustainable projects. Could you explain how is this approach relevant to the Cayman Islands? We continuously hear people talk about it. One of Dr. Steve McPhail always talking about private partnerships as well, public-private partnerships. Mm-hmm. How does it relate could it relate to the Cayman Islands?
Well, historically, also, I think it not only related, but it proved itself beneficial. If members would go back, there was a lot of national outcry when the NRA agreement was done, but that was a PPP with the DART. At the time, government didn't have the necessary funding to do the alternative road into West Bay, which has proven itself, even though there were a lot of objections at the time. So I gave that as an example of how, that the road was built. We got new development, we got new landscape and using like the natural fauna of Cayman, but also there were $20 million, and most people forget that out of that agreement that the then Honorable McKeever Bush was able to negotiate, that was used to assist persons who were close to defaulting or had defaulted on their loans, which helped a lot of Caymanians save their loans. Mm-hmm. And people may say, well, that's a welfare state, but somebody has to pick up the slack of persons. Things happen. A spouse dies and there's a divorce. You don't get the full settlement. You get in an accident for whatever reason. Life turned bad, and so that 20 million not only helped in that capacity, but it was able to help bring community parks throughout Cayman that the government couldn't afford at the time. And it also helped with the education with the SE and the special needs, where a certain amount of money was given towards that. And so I believe that there will always be opportunities where there should be public-private partnership. Obviously, the ISRIM project that was there could have been a project of that. It did not meet the affordability test because of a lot of reasons, including the protracted amount of time that it took to get there. At the end of the day, it was felt by what we believe is a majority of the people in Cayman that was not affordable. It was going to tie the country economically for many years, and after the 25 years, that was the life of the facility, and you'd have to start from scratch again. Does it mean that we may not have to look at another situation? Minister of Tourism is taking a question to the referendum for berthing. If that is passed in affirmative, that would be another good project that would go. We just need to ensure that when the PPPs are done, that government maintains control of the national infrastructure. I am not one that believes that our port should be in the hand of a private person. People differ, but I think that that's something we should retain control of. And then there are a lot of road needs in Cayman. Some people will not support it, but when you come from the Eastern District, you sit 2-3 hours into it. Yes, you need an EIA, and I'm all for that, but the EIA should not be an extended intellectual academic exercise. It should be just that. And I'm not allocating blame for it. I'm just saying the road is needed. Let's get the road, and whatever needs to be done. If we need to pay more people to work overtime to get the EIA or to get NRA to do whatever they need to do, the people in the Eastern District are suffering. So if it's going to take, luckily, we have sufficient funding for that. If the EIA come back and say it has to be like the St. Pete Tampa elevated causeway, then we don't have the money to build a 20-foot or a 10-foot or 15-foot on stilts road. But we have to have that balance, and the balance also does not just come from government funding out of general revenue. We have the options, and thankfully for Cayman, we have run the budget. So whether people want to say because the FFR, I'd like to think because we had good leaders and we have a good finance secretary in Ken Jefferson, who actually see the prudence in handling our fiscal affairs well. But there's a limit. We have a growing civil service. We have more and more needs from the people, and Cayman, I believe it's time now to really take a serious look at the PPPs. And other island nations were very interested to see how we had successfully done the NRA, and they were interested in finding out a deep dive. So in a bilateral meetings, I had an opportunity to speak more one-on-one with them as to how it operated and offered to share information. And that's the wonderful thing about networking. There were things that we brought back, cards were exchanged, and I think, and keep my fingers crossed, that because one of the meetings we met a very interesting entrepreneur who's been successful in building some 52, 54 hotels worldwide. And he has an enthusiastic desire to visit and has confirmed a visit here for February. And so at that time, we will have a meeting, a press conference if go forward, and you'll be delighted that we will be taking tourism to the next level if that comes true. So if nothing else happened, it was worth that trip. And I didn't spend one tourism dollar to do it.
All right. And you read my mind there, because I was going. My next question was going to be, do we expect to see some delegations come to the Cayman Islands to visit, to see, what we have done here, and, to learn what to do and what not to do as well. Now, Premier, you mentioned the FFR, and we're seeing now in the UK, first of all, I think just a few days ago, there was some news release about a black hole in their budget and the financing that the previous government didn't make them aware of. We also know that as far as the borrowings for the UK is concerned, they're extending it. The reason that they have to extend it is that there are so many more people who are in need, are we likely, and based on the experience that the UK is having, I would assume that they would lean favorably towards changing the FFR for the Cayman Islands, bearing in mind that circumstances have changed tremendously. You know, we see an effort now and a calling to at least ensure that every government worker is making at least $3,000 a month. And even with that, that's going to be a struggle, you know, for some. So we have a strong case to bring to the United Kingdom that we need to have another look at the FFR, because they know what they're going through with it. Their National Health Services, you know, over there, they're going to fund that. But even with that, what they're doing is still not going to be enough. Will we at some point in time be going to them?
Well, I think I approach it slightly different.
Okay.
After having an opportunity to speak to my friend and colleague from Bermuda, Premier Burt, I was reliably informed by him that they don't have an FFR to go with. And so I think that Cayman has proven itself that we can have our own internal FFR, and that would be the preferable route that I'd like to go. Because as we move and as we become more financially independent, we have to grow up, OC. I mean, we shouldn't have to go thousands of miles to go and say, please, Mr. Please, with a cap in our hand, can I get these restrictions? Because having an FFR in place and agreeing with it means that there's an inherent distrust amongst our people that we're not capable of handling our own finances. Yet each year we go and we have a surplus. It varies, but there are aspects of the FFR that I think can be very beneficial, and I would like to see entrenched. But in our own domestic legislation, I don't think we should have a big stick over us. And like I said, we are in a democratic political process. And if for whatever reason that doesn't work, that's what the voters for. There's no power like the power of the pen, and when you put the X on election day. And so I believe it could be done incremental if persons want to. For example, that 10% debt service ratio that Han Kashu, including Cayman, even though we've been able to survive quite good, as time go on and we see the world economy going the way it is going, we don't have no natural resources. And I know that, again, like in Bermuda, they are opting for the 15% global tax, and he was just glowing because now he says there's going to be so much money from that, they're not going to be able to know what to do with it. But one of the things that he was proposing, which is very attractive, is that they would reduce and or negate completely income taxes for the people, which would immediately assist the cost of living. Now, unlike us in Cayman, they have more of the global companies like Bacardi, Amazons, and we don't have a whole lot of that business. We have more mutual funds. So whether or not the next government gravitates towards that or not, I don't know. It certainly won't happen during this time. But I think, OC, that as we look at these other countries, as we've been able to do, and speak to them, we can take the best from the both worlds. And so when I go to the UK, obviously FFR will also be there because we're talking about access to financing. There are countries within our territories like BVI, Anguilla, Turks, and those who want to advance their constitution. They make no apologies about it. Unlike the situation in Cayman, we're still very cozy with that colonial blanket that's wrapped around us, that it'll be a long, long time before we even peep from underneath the blanket to see what else obtains out there. But suffice to say that there is stability that comes from it. But people, as we mature, and that's one aspect that I would wish to pay some more attention in the upcoming months, trying to get our Caymanian people to believe in themselves. We are equal. You know, we made it a level playing field for the genders. We made it a level playing field for naturalization. We made it a level playing field for the illegal migrants. We make it even for the prisoners. It's time. And I said to John, Minister Seymour, John, change the name and put it back to Cayman Protection Law. Whether or not I get full support on that, I don't know, but I can tell you I haven't stopped pushing for it. Does that mean that I'm putting back in one of the protectionism hinders that I try to eradicate later? No, but see, charity starts at home. And it's not just financially, but it's with our cultural development of things Caymanian. Love it, embrace it, empower it, and let us educate about it. Now you get me all worked up on my favorite topic.
I love this conversation. We can talk all day about that, Premier. Folks, we're going to take a break. We have to go to our headline news. When we return, the conversation with the Honourable Juliana O'Connor-Conley, along with Mr. Chief Officer, Mr. Eric Bush, will continue. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay Mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Covering Little Cayman, Cayman Bride.
Cover me.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
Cayman Connection invites you to a question and answer session with Charlotte Webster, the winner of the Ministry of Sports Award. It's taking place today at 1 p.m. Cayman time. You can head to the Cayman Connection Facebook page for more information. In the U.S., back on the campaign trail, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump will both make stops in North Carolina today, a critical battleground state that could determine who takes the White House. Between the two candidates, both have made dozens of visits to the state over the last few months as Harris tries to defy history by being only the second Democratic presidential candidate to win the state in 50 years. Some analysts are calling the poll in North Carolina a, quote, toss-up. Trump, who has said it is a, quote, very, very big state to win, carried North Carolina in 2020, but did so by just over 70,000 votes, which has further buoyed Democrats' hopes that this, quote, purple state, one that could vote red or blue, could be winnable this election. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman. Biggest variety in the morning. Biggest variety.
RC Fusion.
Following the 10 a.m. news headline.
Brought to you by TCE Paint Shop, 27 Godfrey Nixon Way.
RC Fusion.
The Georgetown Farmers Market. It's time you start eating local. The market at the Cricket Grounds.
My Kinda Cleaners. Call or WhatsApp 326-3379 for your free quote today.
Biggest variety in the morning.
Radio Cayman.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Chief Officer Mr. Eric Bush and Honorable Juliana Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands. We're talking about her attendance at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, which was held in Samoa. We also know that the Premier had meetings with Samoan government officials, which she mentioned earlier. She had a chance to meet with Samoa's Prime Minister and Minister. So we want to hear from her some of the common goals or challenges that were discussed, particularly those that were unique to small island nations as well. And we do know, the Premier mentioned off-air, lots of breadfruits, over there as well. We could use some over here now because the breadfruit season is off. People are looking forward to having them in their pots for Christmas. Mm-hmm. Premier?
Thank you, O.C. Yeah, I think Eric was one that reminded me that Captain Cook, I knew that he had discovered Samoa, mm-hmm. and that I think there's some historical data to suggest that he had brought the 2 breadfruit trees to Cayman. But after having visited Samoa, I think he put more than 2 breadfruit trees, because practically every type of tree that we see here, OC, as we drove from the airport to the cruise ship which we were on, and the cruise ship wasn't a luxury thing that Cayman decided to stay on it because they didn't have the hotel capacity for the CHOGM attendees. So that was another benefit of having a berthing facility. They were able to diversify within the week and bring tons of money that they would not normally get had they not had that berthing facility. So the delegates, a lot of us stayed on the cruise ship that was there. But we saw, as we drove from the airport, it's probably about 30, 40 minutes drive there, practically every single yard, and the yards are big and they are kept immaculately clean, were breadfruit trees, not tree, but trees. And that spoke volumes to me, OC, because they recognize the importance of the breadfruit being a staple. They said they had 6 varieties, which I was a little bit jealous of, because we only have, as far as I know, the white and the yellow heart one there. Temptation was great to find a modern day Captain Cook, but I didn't want to be that person. And it was interesting that they're divided like according to families, and their families are extended. So as we drove, in addition to seeing the breadfruit trees all along the highways and the yards, everywhere, huge humongous breadfruit trees, we also saw young boys or adolescents in the breadfruit trees brought by a lot of members, and we used to climb them. I can't put it in past tense. I don't think I can climb them nowadays. But the women and the children were underneath with like straw baskets, and so they were throwing the breadfruits from the top. Normally we use a stick in Cayman, but they had the basket, and they would hold it to try to catch the breadfruit. Well, to give you the idea of the size of the breadfruits, I remember when we passed one of them, you saw when the breadfruit came down, it went straight chalk through the bottom of the basket. But it gave me an idea of just a simple thing through observation, that as we pick breadfruits, because we have quite a bit in my mom's yard, and people come and get them all the time, rather than just picking them, letting them drop, and if they're too ripe, they splatter. If we got a similar basket and caught, it would help improve your cognitive skills as you get older. It is some improvisation. I think I'll take that one back to the back for sure. But simple things like croton, coconuts. I remember when we were growing up, and I say we because we all, except for Eric, past 60 probably, coconuts was something that we didn't have the canned coconut milk. So everywhere you went, you saw coconut trees. Tons. The coconuts look a bit smaller, but more in a branch than what we have in there. The kind of the orange-looking coconuts, but dry coconuts, piles and piles of dry coconuts are piled up. And what they do, they use the husk for landscaping purposes into the gardens, where we would use gravel or other types of things to cover, sometimes plastic. They use the coconut husks neatly prepared along their vegetation. Wow. Backyard farming, front yard farming, sideline farming. Everybody has a little farm in the yard. And then they have also a lot of the poinciana. They have what we call Jerusalem thorn. There's probably another word for it. But agriculture is a big, big thing for them. We took the opportunity, obviously, Eric being in charge of agriculture and me living my being still be agriculture. We went to the markets, OC, and it's almost like what the States of what the pavilion is, but women seem to be the majority that's there into their markets. And they have similar fruits. As I said, it was mango season, so they have a lot of round mangoes. I saw namdok, and they have a lot of long mangoes. I tasted the long mango, and I must say Cayman is much sweeter than the one there. But they have so many varieties. They have some that we didn't have. That one tastes like passion fruit, but it was shaped like an American apple, but so delicious. And they have a lot of flowers, and so they have used what nature provided for them to make the best of it. And they do a lot of their own straw work, and they use their rock to make jewelry. And I just thought, why can't Cayman be doing more of this, so that when the tourists come, they can get truly a Cayman experience? And I think those are things you don't necessarily have to get tertiary education. So I'll have a word with the Minister of Tourism, and also with my own education, technical and vocational, to see whether we can put together some type of diploma or 6 months training, so that those children who don't get the 8, 9, 5, 6 passes can acclimatize to that. Because if the vote is an affirmative, we need to prepare for the tourists that will come, the visitors, to have our Caymans there. And that's what I talk about, nation building and wealth building. We also had an opportunity with her being the first woman to talk about some of the challenges that women face in politics. And we recognize they have organized parties. We're just in a process. We took a side exit to independence. And I say this without an apologist. I think that's a failed experience and that we want to have that repeated for the next election. And yes, I said it, so you can do whatever you want with it. But she was on the other side, and then she crossed over, and then she ended up becoming the prime minister of her country. And the respect is there, but she quite easily confessed that it was not an overnight thing. It's like that song, Take Time to Know Her. They took time to know her, and now she stands tall and fully respected. I recognize that it's often majority of women on the registered voters registry. Women do a lot of the footwork, and they're the foot soldiers in the parties. They do the bake sales, they get the shirts, they do distribution, they get on the phone, they say telephone and tell a woman and make sure the campaign and word is out there. So she had similar things like that. But she was not afraid to surround herself with male ministers. And we met 3 more of those. We met the Minister for Education. We met the public enterprise, and that's something that Cayman didn't have, and I would be recommending, and I'll let Eric talk a bit about that. But they basically took the public enterprises of government, even though there was a minister for public works. That was the overseer that dealt with the investors, and so it was more of a centralized. It wasn't like 5 different governments, He delegated down, and I kind of like that idea. And I would he was one that wants to come to Cayman to visit. We invited him. Maldives were over the top of the hill and wanted to come to Cayman. There were some private enterprises that want to come to Cayman as well. Most of them never heard about Cayman, but I can say without any fear of contradiction that after this visit between Eric and myself, everybody knew about Cayman and where we were. And so I think that, especially this year, with the U.S. election, advertisement is so expensive in the States. And we really haven't gone to the Pacific, and we've seen that we get Filipinos and stuff there, and there are persons there in the Pacific with funds that relate to us, and that we always hear complaints, well, there's too much of this nationality of that. I believe that can also open a door, because she admitted that when I asked about, well, how do you fund your budget? And they have a system of taxation, but they depend heavily on remittances. Okay. So right away I thought, well, that could be another market that we could diversify the genetic pool, as it were, in Cayman, but get a culture. They're a Christian nation. They respect, almost adore the elderly. So they have the oldest person within their family is their chief. And so as you drive along as well, I asked her, well, we would call them cabanas, except those, most of them that we saw 40 feet by 30 feet, and they're baseless cement foundation with steps coming up. They have big poles, like light poles, but they get them from their forest, and then it's covered, but there's no windows. A couple of them had a screen. And so I asked her, what are these used for? Because they're in every single yard. And she said, basically, it's a meeting place, and it's a coming together of that family. Like, say, the Connors family would come together. So not only do they keep their culture and their history, but they know who their family is. And like when we grew up, that everybody was cousin this or aunt this or whatever, we've lost that in Cayman, except maybe Northside, Eastern have a remnant, say Cayman Brac perhaps. And I think that's good, because if we don't do or find similar things, we are going to lose our culture and our identity. Yep. So that's another thing I'm excited about, that if we could find an innovative way to encourage, because even when I grew up, Papa had a much smaller version, and he used it for the men to get together to talk. He used it for butchering the cow and all these different things. But they also use it to house their visitors. So it showed that they entertain visitors and strangers, but that family unit is what keeps that country together. And you can see that from the little one right up to the top, that the elderly persons in their community are respected. Just like when we grew up, that we would never pass without saying good morning or good evening or yes ma'am and yes sir. I mean, they are the majesty, the king and queen of their family. I would like to get back to that to Cayman.
Did they express any fear of outside influence changing their culture?
Yeah, well, they did. And so they're very slow in embracing wholesale investors coming in. And the way that they've been able to control it, from speaking to the ministers and to the prime minister, is that government owns 20% of the land in Samoa, and the tribal villages own the other 80%. So the government ministers have to go negotiate with the tribal heads, the chiefs, if they want to put a road or whatever. And so almost every little village has the basic necessities. They'll have their school, their police stations, and whatever else that's needed. And I asked, well, how do they do that? They get together and they raise the funds, and the men in the village come and build it. Sometimes the government will help with grants so that they can pay for the resources. But it's all a matter of pride in the village. And so there's a healthy competition between the different villages. So as we drove in preparation for the Commonwealth, each village adopted a Commonwealth country. So you would go through where you would see St. Lucia flags, and you would see everything would be colors. And they didn't have like a lot of wealth, so they had tires. And so the tires were cut almost like a flower. And inside that, they just had things like cactus, very what we would call common in Cayman. It's not hardly used anymore, but they would paint the tires like red, white, and blue. So we had Australia, Britain, Canada as you drove in, and that in itself made each country, as they drove through that adopted village, feel welcome from the very beginning of it. The other thing that I saw, and I asked her about, there were what I call elevated receptacles for garbage. So I asked her, how come as you drive along you see these steel, it's like a center pole, it's a square or rectangle, and it has like steel railings and no coverings? What were they first? I said, they have a big dog and chicken problem. I said, well, we have it here as well.
Tell us about it.
So Daryl and I took pictures of it, which I want to speak to the Minister of Health and Wellness and D.H. Richard to see what we can do to do a similar thing, because it gets away. It get away from all the garbage being skewed all over the place, and they were attractive the way that they did them. Very simple, straightforward. You know, you can do it almost like the octagon shape, just a pole in the middle, put the railing up, and they're about maybe 3-4 feet, and then where the opening, and also I think it would help our collectors where they don't have to bend down. They just stand up, and some of them the railing is about that high, so they can just take it, but some of them had a little door that you could open it and get it. So I think that's something that we can take away for Cayman. She also talked about the party structure, how they were grappling. Well, if you ran for one party and you decide to walk, whether you should have to resign and go back to election, or whether you can go over. And for them right now, you can cross over, and that worked for them, but they were open to look at other jurisdictions to see what obtained there. And she said that, you know, when she resigned from her party, it did cause some concern, but she think that from the way that she's ran the country, that's been neutralized and negated. There were other challenges, she said, you know, with close election results. It meant that sometimes you're tested and tried, but you have, for the benefit of the country, forget about the power and the pomp and the prestige and just do what's best in the public interest. And for that was a good takeaway for me, because, of course, while I was there, I got the announcement that another party might be in the making. And so that was comforting to hear that when you put the public interest first, you can go sleep and take it in stride.
Do you know, do they use the first past the post system, you know, as well? That's what they use. And any idea, Mr. Bush, the population, the size, population size?
Yeah, the population of Samoa is about 250,000 between the two islands. And I just want to correct, Mr. Connor, thank you for that. It's 2.6 billion people in the Commonwealth. Not 2.6 billion, thank you.
Premier? Back to you, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, and so the meeting with her, she basically summarized that, you know, the taxation, the remittances, and the family ties together is a three-tier prong. They don't have big financial services. They don't have a lot of tourism or anything yet, but their money is fairly strong. It was like $250 of their money to $1, which I thought was fairly good. And they're very much, I guess from an innate perspective, very entrepreneurship. Like every little corner you see a stall where they're trying to sell. And obviously the agriculture being very strong, she explained, unfortunate for us, that they were having agriculture day. So we took opportunity to try to see what we could do. And for her also, they didn't have a problem accepting prayer. She said everything they do, and that resounded right down of all the ministers, that they start every meeting with prayer. And in fact, when I went into the ministry for the Minister of Education, he had big pictures of Jesus in it, big scriptures all over the place. So they weren't just talking the talk, they were walking the talk. And you can feel from the ambience the principles of Christianity. It doesn't mean that everybody was Church of God Holiness, because we visited, and in fact I took the opportunity to pray inside one of the most beautiful Catholic churches I've ever been into. That was a recent one. They said it was built 5 years ago by their priest that was there. And I was like, well, where did they get the money to do this? Of course, the state helps, which is a foreign thing in Cayman these days, even though in McKeever said he did it, and for all the better. But also, if you would see, and if sometime I'll show you some of the pictures, the woodwork, they use what they have in their country, and they maximize the potentiality of that. And it is just immaculate. You walked in there, there was such a sense of serenity and tranquility. There's no guards or anything. The doors are open. Of course, there's a little offering plate, which I didn't mind contributing to, because if the people could put that much investment into church and showed what God has done for them, it embarrassed me as a Cayman Islander, knowing that he has founded us upon the seas, and yet we seem to have left him upon the seas. I won't preach any more about that this morning.
Okay, that's okay. Can we talk, somewhat about networking and building global partnerships? It was mentioned earlier, but we may want to expand a little bit about that as well. And then some of the meetings that you had, for example, with Lord Collins and others.
Okay, well, I'll let Eric talk a bit about the networking and global partnership. But we took, I can say, every waking moment to pass out our cards and to talk to people. It wasn't one of those things where we just stood in a corner and we were posh and smug and stuff. We went on a mission to let people know where Cayman was, and we know it was an opportunity, being there as president of UCOT, but also as representatives and such an august body of leaders. And it was refreshing to see our friend Garson, Prime Minister from Antigua, and also the Prime Minister Davis from Bahamas, how they were treated differently. They didn't have to go to UK and ask for special favors to get a delegate card. They were there as independents in their own right. But yet they still took time, to take pictures with me and to discuss with me and talk about Caribbean issues. And we were glad to hear that the announcement was going to come on Friday, that Antigua would be the next one. And I think that one of the things that we were able to establish when I met, I think that was with Lord Collins. I asked about, the future of attendance for UCOT. And he said that the Minister Stephen would confirm it. But he could say that from henceforth, each time that CHOGM happens, there will be at a minimum the chairman for UCOT or the president in attendance. And I thought that was a big achievement, because I don't want to be laundering publicly some of the things that went on behind the scene, but up to the last minute, in fact, Eric and we canceled about 11 o'clock that night, because there were discussions, let me elevate my terminology, as to whether we should go or why we shouldn't go, and whether the other territories would feel jealous that Cayman was getting to go, and wondering whether that if we had made a deal with the UK, why they chose us to go, and all this nonsense. I say, Eric, I can meet with these people in 3 weeks' time. I don't want to go as a divided UCOT. Should I go? But prayer is a wonderful thing. And so by the morning, I just saw things turn around. I mean, they told us that there were no more seats on the flight because we had canceled that night. And the Lord worked it out that we got seats. We got good seats, even when we thought we wasn't going to get good seats. The flight out of Miami was late. we all couldn't travel together. Eric went from Miami to San Francisco. I had to go to Charlotte. And, of course, I insisted I fly on Cayman Airways. And so when they first got the flight, they had me, and I'm just saying that to let people understand the type of God that we say. They had me out of Cayman, an American, which I haven't done since Tom Jefferson got embarrassed for taking an American way back in 1990 something.
That, yes.
And so because of cancer that night, the next morning I couldn't get a flight on American. And so I went on Cayman Airways. It meant that I had to overnight in Miami. And I said that even then, it was still a fight. The American was late from Miami into Charlotte by 1 hour. We only had an hour connecting. And I thank God for Jared Harper that day more than anything else, because I thought I couldn't run no more OC. When we got into Charlotte, and you know about Charlotte, the airport, Daryl and I was there. Daryl is an athlete, and he's much smaller than I am. And I can say, and you can trust and verify with him. I was way ahead of him. He was like, Julie, I thought you couldn't move it no more. So I told myself from that experience, when I come back, I have no excuse about peeing for walking, because it was close to a 3/4 mile to a mile between the gates. And in fact, when we got there, it said gates closed.
Wow.
And I prayed again, and the woman, I don't know if she saw a pitiful look on my face or not, but she opened the door and made Daryl and I get on. And I said that to say this, that I had set different fleeces out to make sure that my gut feeling and Eric's initial and continued advice that this was a good trip for Cayman. It was a good trip for Cayman. And I'm so glad that the Lord worked it out, that we got to go, even though we had all sorts of things going around, why we shouldn't go, and from all sorts of quarters.
Wow.
Let me leave it as that. And so it was culminated in OC with the meeting Monday in Miami. And before I went, what came out of it was I sent a note to my colleagues in the chat and said, I understand X, Y is the case. And each of the premiers came back and said, we wholeheartedly and support my name, Juliana, and Cayman Islands going to represent UCOT. So what the devil meant for bad was able to be confirmed, that we didn't have no doubt of where the support was. And so we put that underneath the water, and it just brought us closer together in Miami. It was a wonderful meeting. And GIS, they're not called that anymore, CIG, once they get their report, they will see where the Prime Minister there said it was an excellent meeting. And I didn't prompt them to say that, but they all say it was an excellent meeting. And we really felt it was productive. So I'm optimistic that it was worthwhile.
Excellent, excellent. Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation with the Premier of the Cayman Islands, Honorable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, will continue. Don't change that dial. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers, a compounding story.
I don't think people realize how pain creeps into your life. It has a way of robbing your strength. I really don't like taking prescription medication orally.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. They understand.
When it comes to compounded medication, it's personal. So whenever there's a problem with some medication or treatments that's not working right, then a physician will call me and say, hey, they're having bad side effects from this medication.
Compounding pain cream changed the game. Made special for me. Significant pain relief in the form of a cream. That is a new experience for me.
It's changed his life.
It worked.
Ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about compounding at West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Call 914-6449.
Brand Source is putting the sizzle into the season with their fall cooking sale. Fall into savings with 15% off on all cooking products, including gas and electric ranges, cooktops, microwave ovens, built-in wall ovens, and speed ovens. Luxury brands included. Don't miss out. Shop now and save 15% on cooking products before this offer ends on October 31st. Cook up your best dishes with Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
At Kirk's Home Center, we can make your life much better. We got it all together. We got a great deal in store for you. From cookware to stereos, from power tools to plumbing supplies. Yeah,
Hey, did you register to vote yet? The final registration deadline to vote in the 2025 general elections will be the 1st of January, 2025. Go to elections.ky to download your registration form. Once you've filled it out, take the form and the originals of all your required documents to the elections office. They're located on West Bay Road in Baytown Office Suites. Or you can even email it to them. Register to vote by January 1st, 2025. For more information, visit elections.ky, call 949-8047, or email office@elections.ky. Your vote is your voice. Make it count.
Do you have a healthcare question but not sure who to ask? Contact HSA's Patient Call Center to speak to one of our experienced clinical team members. We are here to answer your questions and help guide you through your healthcare journey. Need to make an appointment? Our team can help. Contact HSA at 949-8600 or email info@hsa.ky. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
From 8th to the 30th of November, the Pirates Week Festival will embark on a 3-week journey under the theme of setting sail through time. Join us for a host of free activities for all to enjoy. Immerse yourself in pirate folklore, journey to each district day, and celebrate Caymanian culture while you connect with friends new and old. For more information on events and activities, please visit piratesweek.com. Brought to you by the Ministry of Border Control, Labor and Culture.
The results of the STEPS 2023 National Health Survey are in, Cayman. Did you know that 35% of Cayman residents with raised blood pressure are undiagnosed? Or that 7 out of 10 Cayman residents are overweight or obese? The Ministry of Health and Wellness wants to empower you with information that can change your life. Log on to www.gov.ky/steps or follow us on Facebook. Let's step into wellness together, Cayman.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. My pleasure to have in the studio with me Chief Officer Mr. Eric Bush and the Honourable Juliana O'Connor Connolly, Premier of the Cayman Islands. We're talking about the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that took place in Samoa. And I just want to say to our listening, to our audience that yes, we know that some of you are anxious to call in. You have sent some WhatsApp messages as well. Those that I can share, I will share with the Premier. But the focus on this show this morning really is to share with you the results of the Premier's attendance at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. It is a unique experience. I think the only other one that was attended 2018 by in London, yeah, as well. So, Premier, back over to you.
Thank you. Also, it was also good in talking with the Minister of Education and Culture. They had just begun giving computers to their teachers, and everybody that we spoke about education was just in awe that we were so in advance of the 8 ball, as it were, where our teachers and our students, have modern, up-to-date computers that they actually give ownership to. But one of the things I took away from their curriculum is that we can actively investigate ways in which we can integrate agriculture into our curriculum. And that's one thing, the modern schools that we are, the new high school at John Gray, we have planter boxes, but we have enough area that we can expand that more. And I know my colleague, the minister, had also brought technology into it, to the classroom, and made various donations to all our schools. And we also, I think, can, as I explained to them, work in better collaboration with the Water Authority, which for our Cayman contacts, Ms. Juliana are donating, water fountains that they can actually go and get water and so we can get rid of plastic. Well, Samoa have gone where Cayman is still trying to go, where plastic is actually, the use of one-use plastic is a criminal offense. And plastic bags, we call scandal bags, is a thing of the past there. So that's a takeaway that we can look at. I know the minister had been looking at that, and there was a committee that was looking at that. So hopefully we can remove the ing off of the looking and make it more present tense and get some traction in that as well. They also said that when they had COVID, it was very, very challenging for them from an education perspective because they didn't have the IT in place that we had in Cayman, so their schools were out for a more protracted period of time. And so we were able to share similar experiences and how they were able to distribute it. They also have a similar situation with the undersea cable, which Minister J. probably already has indicated, but we gave some funding for that so that we can future-proof, Cayman, because like I said, we are a service industry. They had a situation in Samoa where one of the boats cut their undersea cable, and that was the only one. So they were out of communication for a long time. So that cemented with me the need to get that redundancy building in Cayman as well. And then there were talks about the mixed reception from the teachers to the new technology. There was some resistance there, just as there resistance here, where some teachers are old school. And so we talked about ways that we could inculcate that appetite for them to use it. And I've spoken in a Cayman context to Lance, who does the ICT for education, to get an app so that we can measure the utilization of it, so that I can be more on top. Because when I'm going to visit, everybody has a computer up, but I'm worried about the days when I don't visit what's happening with the computers there. And so education is a big, big focus for them, but they also make room in their hierarchy, their social hierarchy, for the cultural infiltration into the curriculum. And so that is a step that we need to continue to look more closely. I know years ago we had like the social services book that Mr. Roy did, and that no longer seems to be in the schools. And when I inquired, they said that because, we had moved to the British curriculum, but I still think that we need, and I'm going to try before I exit the stage, to find room within the curriculum. Yes, we need the STEM, or now they call it the STEAM courses, your math, your English, your sciences, but unless you know your culture, that's the rudder for the STEAM, as it were. And if you lose that rudder, that dignity gap is going to become more and more wide, and I don't think that that's a legacy that I want to leave. And we also noticed that they do a lot of community projects and after-school program, and so you probably would be aware that in the Cayman context, the Jubilata program that was at the First Baptist Church, apparently they got new carpets and other floating considerations. I'm going to be very kind. Decided that Jubilata could no longer have the church as a house. So I have met with a pastor who's now organizing it to try to find another house for them, and to encourage them also to come to Cayman Brac, where we do have a house, houses that they can go, and some are community centers that I've modernized, because I've seen in Samoa and different places as I travel, even Fiji when I was there before, that community spirit through sports, through music, through culture is what, let me pause, is what I get so passionate about as OC. That is going to be the adhesive. That's going to be the glue that keep us as Caymanians. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to Webster and do an apology for what a definition of Caymanian is. We're going to lose it. We cannot, if we don't use it, we're going to lose it. So let's start using things Caymanian and be proud of who you are.
Okay, what we're going to do, Ms. Susan, if I can come to you now, we take the commercial break now, and then when we return, we go straight through until 10 o'clock. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Brand Source is putting the sizzle into the season with their fall cooking sale. Fall into savings with 15% off on all cooking products, including gas and electric ranges, cooktops, microwave ovens, built-in wall ovens, and speed ovens. Luxury brands included. Don't miss out. Shop now and save 15% on cooking products before this offer ends on October 31st. Cook up your best dishes with Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. I just want to say to our listening and viewing audience, unfortunately, the Premier couldn't take calls this morning because this was a long discussion. Wanted to share with you, the outcomes of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that took place in Samoa, where she participated as well. And you know that Premier is not shy about taking calls and everything else, and there will be other opportunities, for that to take place, as well. And I'm sure that the Premier, will reassure you of that also. Folks, the mic is yours.
Also, before turn it over to Eric and make my closing remarks, I just want to say that one of the things that take away is that it's the possibility for Cayman to become a hub, and for my preference obviously would be for Eric to be the director, the lead for that hub for the Caribbean, because they don't have a hub here in Cayman. I'll ask him to explain more about and give some role clarity and functionality about this new, innovative, exciting idea. But that was one of the benefits from the networking. They expressed the confidence. I understand from the periphery that Bahamas is also interested of being the hub. And so time is of the essence. So I expect that when I'm in London, we have a meeting set up with Lord Marlin as well. Once we finish the joint ministerial meeting with our bosses in the UK to deal with that. And perhaps by that time I'll be in a position, after taking it through my caucus and cabinet, MOU can be signed to have that established here in Cayman, so that when we come back from London, we can talk some more about that. But I'll ask Eric to whet your appetite and that of the listeners to give a conceptualization of what that hub entails. One of the other takeaways, OC, was the emphasis and the significance that was put on food security. And so we're happy that, our government has a national food security policy, and it doesn't have to be huge arable land. I still think we keep to the concept that we embarked on years ago of backyard farming, because if everybody do a little bit of it, we would know that, we can survive. And I liked, like I said, what I saw them doing with the mango and the avocado, the coconut and the breadfruit. Find those established, stable foods that everybody can get. And even our highways. Yes, it's beautiful to have flowers, but I'm a farmer. I don't like sweeping up leaves and don't get nothing off of it. Exactly. So perhaps we can now start taking that other incremental step in our nation building and put those type of trees there. At the prison, we have lots of land around the prison. Let the prisoners get back and growing so that they grow what they eat and eat what they get, because that's one way of diversifying the whole spread of the funds rather than have to import. And Cayman can still grow a lot of things. There were a time we didn't have big ships. Yes, we had smaller boats bringing turtles, and we had turtles that we could catch around the shore or fish. But we've moved away from that. And as we try to balance environmental needs and the very deep appetite for everything to worship the creation rather than the creator, we still have to recognize that at the top of that chain is man and woman, boy and girl. And food security is something that I'm going to be continuing in supporting the minister, not just with investing funds, but to ensure that the policies are put into the curriculum and that we use even, like Mrs. Lucille with the elderly persons, that's something that can help them with their cognitive conditioning and keep them to feel relevant, that they have this sense of independence. Yes. Most of them we provide through Cynical, a helper if the right conditions are there. Agriculture can go in, and the minister's eager to do new programs. Yep. Give them some seed startup packages, get even some of the low-risk prisoners to go and build the grow boxes. When the developers in the private sector, cut down the trees that are necessary to cut down or after a storm, give them the chips or adopt a senior for agriculture purpose. There's so many things. I told you I came back excited. I came sleep OC. And it's not that we didn't think of some of these things, but when you actually see the ideology, the dreams and the aspirations working in another jurisdiction, you want to come back. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to adopt it wholesale. We have to put the Caymanian stamp, proud to be Caymanian, on it and adapt it so that at the end of it, we can be one resilient Commonwealth country.
With the abundance of things like the breadfruit, did you see any evidence of how they of them preserving it, for the off season? Because here in Cayman, you have an abundance, and then after that it goes away. But no, we use the old system. Some people say, well, maybe you half boil it and you freeze it or whatever. Yeah. Any evidence of that over there?
They do what we call agricultural terminology, the value added. Mm-hmm. So they obviously do breadfruit chips, to which I couldn't resist and bought a huge package. Yes. But in the package itself, there's a small compartmentalized, smaller package that helps to preserve it. And it's brilliantly, probably too much salt for those of us that got hypertension. And they sell those in the markets, just like how you have Doritos and stuff. And they were a hot commodity that was there, not only with us, but the locals. But they boil it a lot. They roast it. They dig a hole in the ground and they roast it. They heat up the rocks with the wood, like how we did many years ago with our pot cakes. And they scrape the skin off of it, though, most of them, where we roast it with the skin. And they also preserve it through freezing, but not with the skin on, from what I was able to ascertain.
Okay. And just one more question. The Joint Ministerial Council meeting, when will that take place?
I think we leave on the 18th of next month, and it happens during that week because Cayman Day is on the 23rd, and so it concludes on the 22nd of that week. And so I'm looking forward to that. We have some hot topics, and perhaps before I go, I can come back because we now have an agreed agenda that's been approved by us and by the FCDO.
Okay, and will we be entertaining our Caymanian students and residents up there like we normally do as well?
Boy, you ask some hot questions. The holistic intent is to attract and entertain as many students as possible, and also friends of Cayman. Mm-hmm. This time, and I say this time because I haven't been invited to the other ones, it went up on the internet, and persons could get tickets. And I understand, based on requests that I'm getting, that it's sold out. And I don't think that means for monetary amount. It means capacity-wise, that there were no more. But it's exciting to know that people are still asking. Unfortunately, the band of my choice was swanky. And for a number of reasons, they're not able to go. Okay. And so Rexy is always a good story that comes out of it. Rexy from Bordentown and his colleagues are going. But Rexy has never traveled yet before, and neither did he have any travel documents. Wow. The Rexy that we know as Caymanian, I tell you, there's a dignity gap. Yeah. And so the DG's office and the passport office went beyond the call of duty, and I was happy to receive a lovely photograph, and I was in Samoa with Rex receiving his naturalization papers and his passport papers. So he's all set and excited to go. And when you have a Caymanian that have closed that dignity gap, that they now can go across England, play and share our skills, I am looking forward to a swankier type of cultural from a music perspective. And the good thing is the head of Swank is going to be there, and I know he's genetically encoded, so I'm hoping that he will carry along his violin as well, and the rhythm will come out as well.
Okay, Mr. Bush, you're going to talk about the hub?
Sure, sir. The Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council is, if you will, the business side of the Commonwealth, and it's led by Lord Jonathan Marlin, Lord Hugo Swire as chairman and deputy chairman, and it's an organization that the Cayman Islands has been a member of since 2018. And if you recall, in early 2020, the then Premier Sir Alden McLaughlin led a delegation to the UK, whereby we met with the Chief of Staff for the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson in number 10. We met with the Lord Mayor of London, and then we met with the then Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, at his house to talk about the special relationship that the Cayman Islands wanted to have with the monarchy, with the City of London, and with the political arm of the UK and UK politics. That was all facilitated and arranged through the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council. And at that time, the Caymanian membership we had, I think there was 7 different companies, whether it was financial services, accounting, legal, etc., that attended with us. And I think we started to see the real fruits of the labor that we were doing from 2017, 18, and 19. Obviously, COVID happened. Things changed. We missed the opportunity for Rwanda, and now we've taken up this opportunity in Samoa. So at one of the conversations with the Premier and Lord Marlin, he offered the opportunity for the Cayman Islands to host or to be the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council hub for the Caribbean. Because there's no representation in any of the Caribbean Commonwealth countries, and there's 13. It goes from Guyana to Jamaica to St. Vincent to Belize, Barbados, Bahamas, Grenada, etc., and including the other 4 Caribbean overseas territories of BVI, Montserrat, Turks and Caicos, Anguilla. So, I think it's a real opportunity for the Cayman Islands to cement themselves in a strategic form, whereby we are considered the business hub for the Commonwealth. If you look at what we did in the 60s in terms of our financial services, yes, we created legislation, but then we started to facilitate global trade and global finance, and that has been the godsend of Cayman's economy ever since. I mean, we look at what our economy is and how and who we're raising fees on. It's because of our facilitation of global finance. Now, we're being given an opportunity to be the business hub for the Commonwealth Caribbean. It's up to the government to take that. I mean, the Premier mentioning it today is a great stride towards it. And then if we are able to sign an MOU in November in London, then we'll go into full action mode and then really start to prepare for Cayman being represented in a higher degree, if I dare say, in Antigua and Barbuda at the next CHOGM.
Yes. Okay, Premier, you still have about another 4 minutes. I want to give you an opportunity for a wrap up and everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jose. I just want to say too that as King Charles walked around, it was at his charity event, the Sustainable Markets Initiative. Not only did I have an opportunity to shake his hand, he obviously, once he heard I was from Cayman, he remembered Cayman and asked about the environment, things that are of interest to him, and renewable energy. And I had prayed before I went, as I always did, and I wanted an opportunity to speak privately with him, but I know that was going to take a miracle. So I mustered the courage after we had the preliminary talks and said, "Can I just say something, Your Majesty?" And he said, "Yes, absolutely." And I said, "I just want you to know that I am praying for you." I just was impressed to say that. And he paused in a moment of time. You could see that he was struck by what I had said. And he responded by saying, "Thank you, I need it. Please continue to do that." And so I've put out another prayer, because I don't stop until I feel that God has given the glory, and I asked for another opportunity that I could actually pray for him. And I don't know whether that would come, but I can say that since coming back, I have received an invitation to have dinner when I'm in London with him and some others. So I'm excited that there is an audacity for optimism.
Yes.
Even in the smaller, more personal things of life. And once again, I want to reiterate that I am eternally grateful, O.C., for this show, because it gives that conduit that we can communicate with our constituents, the residents alike, in a truthful, holistic manner to matters that are not just domestic but internationally, but that we can inculcate the benefits of networking. You know, we talked about resiliency, about climate change. I was able to ask other countries about beach that have been eroded, how we can deal with that, and got some ideas from them, which is a very significant issue that we are grappling with and have to give urgent attention to, and which will probably require some policy changes because 7 Mile Beach is like the oil in Dubai, you know, for us in Cayman, with tourism being so significant. But it also was a stark reminder that our country is what we make it, and that seems very fundamentally, but it encapsulates the plurality of we, that just one person can do it. The government, private sector, the regular voter have to do it. Make, obviously, is a verb, is an action verb, so we just can't sit on social media and talk about it and criticize. We have to become an integral part of the making it. And the it has to be predetermined. And for us, it's easy. It's Caymanian. We've been there. We know what it was to benefit from it. We've had to open our arms, just like Samoa. They're looking into a golden investment for residents, and I told them I could, but I would not give advice on that, because I know our friends in Dominica and some other islands tried it. Our landscape is too, quote unquote, pollutedly charged to talk about investment for status, because we already have an immigration nightmare that if we don't sort out, it's just going to get worse and worse. And so I was frank and honest with them. Where I felt that I could benefit them, I shared it with them. When they asked questions about, you know, how if we could give an experiences, I said, basically, we're not interested in that aspect. But you can.
This is citizenship by investment, right?
Citizenship by investment. They call it goal investment. And they said they had done it before, but they didn't attract a lot of people, so they were going to up the stakes with it. And so I told them they could speak to my friend Scarrett in Dominica. I know that he has a similar system. And so the network was extended to that. And I said that to say this, and I'll close. We have to have the nerve to know who you are, not to succumb to international pressures, and to stand up. And I think that that's going to take some backbone as well as when we go to London, because as you would be remotely aware, if not directly, your beneficial interest is going to surface again. Cayman made commitments, I understand, to deliver by December. And we'll have to wheel and deal and see how that is in the best interest for Cayman. Because if it's not in the best interest of Cayman, we have to be ready to take other legitimate remedies.
But with that also, Premier, didn't we also say that we were ready to move when everyone else, you know,
the level playing field, but
there,
you know the story. It comes with Cayman has done so good, so you're tempted with the leadership role and stuff. So both the DP and my colleagues in Cabinet are on the same page when it comes to that. With the meeting that we had on Monday, the overseas territories, we had much discussion about that, and we have a consensus in our approach to that when we get to the UK.
Excellent. Premier, I want to thank you again for making yourself, available as usual, and you didn't, spare anything at all. You laid it all out there in terms of, what took place, and we are well assured, and we knew this before you went, and you confirmed it when you returned at the Cayman Islands, that we were well represented, in Samoa as well. And again, Mr. Eric Bush, thanks also, for the support that you give to the Premier and to your minister. You come with a vast amount of experience, especially, on the international scene, being the head of the London office. I think that is an excellent opportunity for many Caymanians to take up, and we should continue to rotate that position as much as we can, because at some point in time there were many. I know my good friend, Miss Charlene. She always thought that I would be, the first international representative for the Cayman Islands. But it may not happen in my lifetime. Hopefully it will. But at some point in time, we need that international representation, out there. We're going to need it from the Cayman Islands. So, and that is a good, breeding ground, for it, that London office, as well.
It is. And if I could just say this, because Eric probably wouldn't say it about himself, but when we found that we needed to have a British delegate card to access, certain areas, no less place that when I saw Eric, we went, was to the British Embassy. And these guys know Eric by first name. He came out not with one card, but two, one for me and one for him. And I don't think that happened with too many other people there. I mean, we were outside in less than no time. Eric was in the embassy and out with the card. So they obviously had them waiting after negotiating. And even with the King Charles situation, Cayman was prominently placed to meet the king. And there we weren't pushed in a little corner. We weren't even there were no other Brits around my table. There were other presidents from South Africa, and there was from Australia. And here I was there as Cinderella coming waiting for the coach with the umbrella midnight to strike. But it was equality into the room, and much credit goes to Eric and also to Anne Lott, is it?
Yes.
Anne Lott, who was just brilliant with her reporting and encouraging and pushing and make sure that there were positions that you got good photographs and stuff. She wasn't able to go, obviously, to the one with the king. But as luck had it, Eric was able to go back to the organizer, and they were able to produce the picture that we used to advertise your show this morning. So the London office has paid its dues. Time to get some more offices open now for Cayman.
So true, so true. Folks, don't forget to join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Kirk Market, experience a world of choice.
Yesterday,
Today,
always and forever.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.